Copenhagen is one of those cruise ports where the city is easy, but the port itself works a bit differently depending on where you dock, because cruise ships use 3 different places here. So in this video, I'll go through 10 things you need to know about Copenhagen Cruise Port, from where you arrive to how you get into the city and plan your day. Cruise ships dock in 3 different places in Copenhagen, and the main place cruise ships dock is Ocean Quay, particularly for the larger ships. It's the largest and most modern terminal, used by many of the bigger cruise lines, but it sits outside the city centre, in a working port area. So when you step off the ship, it doesn't feel like you've arrived in Copenhagen itself. Langelinie is much closer in, and it feels quite different. From here, you're already along the waterfront, and it's easy to walk towards the Little Mermaid and continue into the city. Nordre Toldbod is the most central of the 3. Although it's usually smaller ships that dock there, in reality, most people will be starting from Ocean Quay, as that's where most cruise lines dock in Copenhagen. If you're docking at Ocean Quay, you'll need transport. It's not a walk-off cruise port. There are proper terminal buildings, but you won't necessarily use them. As you come out of your cruise ship, you'll see the transport options straight away. Most people head for the cruise shuttle buses, which are usually waiting outside and run regularly throughout the day. They take you directly into the center of Copenhagen, normally dropping off near City Hall Square. From there, you're already within walking distance of places like Tivoli Gardens and Nyhavn, so it's an easy place to start exploring. The price will depend on your cruise line, but it's usually the simplest option if you just want to get into the city without having to think too much about it. You'll also see hop-on, hop-off buses picking up from the terminal on a cruise day. These take you into the city as well, but stop at the main sites along the way, so they can work if you want transport and a bit of an overview at the same time. If you'd rather do it yourself, public transport is a straightforward option once you know how it works. From Ocean Quay, there are buses that run from the cruise terminals to Oceankaj metro station. The 2 you'll usually see are Bus 25, which tends to run on cruise days, and Bus 164, which runs all year round. The journey to the metro station takes around 10 to 15 minutes, and the buses stop at each of the cruise terminals, so you don't need to walk far to find one. From there, you take the M4 metro line, which goes directly into the center of Copenhagen. Taxis are also available outside the terminal and take around 20 to 30 minutes depending on traffic. If your ship docks at Langelinie or Nordre Toldbod, the experience is quite different from Ocean Quay. At Langelinie, you step off the ship along the waterfront, and it feels much closer to the city straight away. From here, you can walk to the Little Mermaid in around 10 to 15 minutes, and from there continue along the waterfront towards the center. Nordre Toldbod is even closer in. Ships docking here are already very near the center, so you're only a short walk or a quick taxi from the main areas. Once you're in the center of Copenhagen, everything is much closer together, and it's quite easy to get around on foot. If you're using the cruise shuttle or coming in by metro, you'll usually arrive near City Hall Square or Copenhagen Central Station. Tivoli Gardens is right there, only a few minutes walk, so that's often the first landmark people see when they get into the city. From that area, it's about a 20 to 25-minute walk through the center to Nyhavn. That's the colorful harbor with the cafes and boats, and it's one of the main places people head to first. From Nyhavn, you've got a couple of options, depending on how you want to do the day. If you want to keep walking, you can follow the waterfront all the way towards the Little Mermaid. It's roughly a 30-minute walk, and it's a really nice route because you pass places like Amalienborg Palace and the Nyhavn fountain along the way. If Tivoli Gardens is something you're planning to visit, it's worth understanding what it actually is, because it's not just a theme park. Tivoli is a mix of landscaped gardens, rides, restaurants, and entertainment spaces, all set around lakes and walkways. It's been there since the 1800s, so it has more of a traditional feel to it rather than a modern theme park. And even if you're not interested in rides, it's still somewhere you can spend time just walking around. The main thing with Tivoli is that it works best if you give it time. It's not somewhere you just walk through in half an hour. Most people will spend at least a couple of hours there, and it's quite easy to stay longer without really noticing the time going. There are plenty of places to eat inside as well, from the Tivoli food hall, which has a mix of different options, to sit-down restaurants if you want something more relaxed. It's a good place to stop for lunch or just take a break, especially if you've come in from the port and want to settle into the day. If you do plan to go into Tivoli, it's usually better to make it a main part of the day rather than trying to fit it in around everything else. You can still see a bit of the city before or after, but once you're inside, it's somewhere you'll naturally want to spend time rather than rush through. If you're not focusing on Tivoli, then the rest of Copenhagen works well as a walking day, because the main sites are close enough together to fit into a single route. Nyhavn is usually the starting point for most people. It's the colorful harbor area with the old buildings and cafes along the water, and it's one of the most recognizable parts of the city. It doesn't take long to see, but it's somewhere you'll naturally stop for a bit, whether that's for a drink or just to take in the atmosphere. It's also where the canal boat tours leave from. These run regularly throughout the day and usually last around an hour. It's an easy way to see more of the city from the water, without needing to plan anything complicated. And it fits quite well into a cruise day, because it doesn't take up too much time. From Nyhavn, Amalienborg Palace is only about 10 to 15 minutes away on foot. This is where the Danish royal family live, and it's a large open square with guards outside. It's not somewhere you need to spend a long time, but it's worth passing through as part of the route. The Little Mermaid sits further along the waterfront, and is usually the final point on this walk. It's a relatively small statue, so it doesn't take long to see, but it's one of those places that fits easily into the day, because you pass other landmarks along the way, including the Nyhavn fountain. The hop-on hop-off bus is one of those options that can work quite well in Copenhagen, depending on how you want to spend the day. From Ocean Quay, it's one of the simplest ways of getting into the city, because the buses usually pick up right by the terminal. It also works if you'd rather not walk as much. The route covers places like Nyhavn, Amalienborg Palace, and the Little Mermaid. So instead of doing it all on foot, you can move between them quite easily. If you're there for 2 days, it can also work out cheaper than using the cruise shuttle both days. And because it picks up from the cruise terminal and takes you back again, it's a very easy option to use. It's also useful if the weather isn't great. If you're planning your day independently, I'll put a few options in the description for things like canal tours and tickets, so you can take a look at those as well. Copenhagen does have a reputation for being expensive, and you'll notice that quite quickly once you're in the city. Food and drinks are where it stands out the most. Sitting down at a restaurant or even stopping for a drink can be noticeably more expensive than other European cruise ports, especially if you're in areas like Nyhavn. That said, it's quite easy to manage if you keep things simple. Places like the Tivoli food hall, bakeries, or smaller cafes are a more affordable way to eat without it turning into a long, expensive stop. So while Copenhagen isn't a cheap port, it's one where you can control how much you spend depending on how you approach the day. The weather in Copenhagen can change quite quickly, and it does affect how the day works. If it's dry, the city is easy to explore on foot. The main sites are close enough together that you can follow a simple walking route and take your time without needing much transport. If the weather turns, that changes things slightly. Walking longer distances becomes less appealing. So options like the hop-on hop-off bus or a canal cruise can work better, because you're still seeing the city without spending as much time exposed to the weather. There are also indoor options like Tivoli Gardens or museums, which can be a good way to break up the day if conditions aren't great. Most cruise stops in Copenhagen are around 8 to 10 hours, which is enough time to see the main parts of the city. However, some cruise lines are starting to include overnight stays in Copenhagen, and that does change things slightly. It gives you more flexibility with your time, whether that's visiting Tivoli in the evening, taking things at a slower pace, or splitting the city across 2 days. That's 10 things you need to know about Copenhagen Cruise Port. If you've got more Baltic ports coming up, I've put all of my Baltic cruise port guides into one playlist, and that's on screen now.